Fitness and ADHD, fitness and ADHD, and me. Oh, there's a squirrel outside. What a fantastic metaphor. He was really just chilling as well. I am alright, fitness-wise. I had a period of time when I was quite unhealthy. There's nothing necessarily wrong with being overweight, but if it impacts things and makes you feel shit, then, and it gives you bad health problems and whatever, then you've got a problem, haven't you? What I decided was in the lockdown of 2021 that I would lose weight because I didn't want to be unhealthy anymore. What I didn't know at that time was I have ADHD. Being healthy with ADHD isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do because we have a proclivity for eating shit and lots of it because of impulses and dopamine desires, and just general kind of not really being able to stop ourselves from doing shit. And that was what I used to be like. I used to eat a lot of crap. Particularly, I love crisps, chips to my American friends, nachos, those, I love them so much, Doritos, other brands available as well. I realised I was a bit overweight, a bit unhealthy, so I thought, you know what, I need to do something about this. And so I did, and I lost 20 kilos, which is 45 pounds in American money. I was pretty happy with that, and I actually managed to keep it off as well, and that's been the case since beginning of 2021. I lost it in 4 months or something like that in 2021, and I've kept it off since. It's not just all about the weight side of things, it's about the health side of things. It's about having healthy habits and healthy ways of being, and I do have healthy ways of being now, somewhat, mostly. With ADHD, trying to stay healthy and fit is a challenge. But I have kind of got 5 principles, let's say. Let's say principles. 5 principles that help me stay healthy and reasonably fit with the ADHD that I have going on up in my brain hole. Here's some tips and tricks and chips. Not chips, not allowed them at the moment. Well, you can have them, but just everything in moderation. That isn't one of the principles, but could be. Number 1, I changed my mentality on what being fit and healthy meant. I was of the opinion that I should be a Greek god, that I should be like Tom Hardy or one of the Ryans, like the Reynoldses or the other one, and have a, sculpted abs and the bulk of a small tractor. And I never was ever going to get there, because the reality is that those people are A, paid to do that for their job, and B, have all of the resources they possibly need available to them to be able to get to that level. Not sure about the Greek god. Greek gods, I suppose, by default would have had all of the resources they wanted. I always felt intimidated because I felt that I was never going to get to that sort of peak level that I had in my head. And so I just didn't really try. And I think that's a big ADHD thing, is this all or nothing mindset, this perfectionism. And the reality is, no one's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Oh no, wait, it's nobody's perfect is the joke. But anyway, I kind of reevaluated what I wanted to actually do. It was just to be able to walk upstairs without being out of breath, and able to run a little bit, a decent distance, and lift some weights, and just sort of look all right in a t-shirt or a shirt, or even without a shirt, better than I had been before. And that's what I've been trying to do, and what I did. And so that changing that mentality was really important for me, because I think otherwise I would have always sort of just left it out of reach and set it as this sort of unattainable goal. And actually, just being a little bit fitter than yesterday and a little bit more healthy than yesterday is the best I can do, and that's good enough. Number two is Doing exercises I enjoy. Not sure what this is. The first thing that got me into this mentality was boxing, because I enjoyed boxing. I like watching it sometimes. I like playing it. I like doing it. I like to box. I don't like being in a box so much. I like thinking outside of the box because of the ADHD. Boxing was the thing that I did for a while, and actually that I really enjoyed, and it was the first sort of sport thing since I was a kid that I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, a couple of injuries happened to me, and that's meant that boxing became a bit untenable for me as a sport option. Unfortunately, might be able to do it one day again, hopefully, but probably not for a while. I had to find other things that I enjoyed, but actually I'm a bit weird in that I quite like weightlifting at the gym, which I know a lot of people aren't necessarily massive fans of, but I actually quite enjoy that for some reason. It's kind of fun and repetitive for me, and I can put music on, a podcast on, and do it, and the stimulation is there in my head and the body, and it works quite nicely for me. I do not like running, but the counterpoint, this is the exception that proves the rule, I think. I don't like running, but I do like how I feel after I run. So from that perspective, I think it sort of counts, because I do feel like really good, better than anything else probably after I run. So I tend to try and do a bit of running here and there because it does help me feel better, as much as I don't like it in the moment. The third, I have a problem saying th. It doesn't feel natural for me to do that with my mouth. I prefer doing third. So the third thing, number 3, which gets very confusing for people sometimes. Trying to actively be a bit more enunciated, which sounded a bit northern, and I'm not northern. Enunciated. Number 3 is paying the ADHD tax. What I mean by paying the ADHD tax in this context is sometimes with ADHD you have to pay for certain things. You have to pay more for certain things because the convenience of paying for it is better than not paying as much and not doing it. For example, you could pay like a certain amount of money to go to a shit gym not near you, and that would be like 20 quid a month, or you can pay 40 quid a month to go to the good gym near you, and you're more likely to go to the good gym near you, and even though it costs you twice as much, you really get more value out of it, and that is an ADHD tax. The big thing for me has been paying for that convenience when it comes to food, particularly lunch, breakfast and lunch. Dinner I have a bit of time to sort of put it together, but breakfast and lunch I can't really be asked to cook or compile at that. At the time I'm working in the day, and I'm not in the mood for that. Instead, I have accepted that I need to pay a bit of ADHD tax on this kind of thing to make sure that I do still eat healthily. Because the issue is if you don't have the easy access healthy foods and easy to grab healthy foods, then you're gonna not do that, and you're gonna pick up shit and eat shit, and that's not good for you. Paying the ADHD tax in this case means having things like pre-packed salad, protein shakes in bottles, pre-made protein shakes, which cost significantly more than buying protein powder and mixing it. But I'm not going to do it. The protein powder, I buy the protein powder and I won't mix it. And as much as that sounds stupid, and you could say like, why don't I just take the time? I can't, for whatever reason, my ADHD thing, or just that I'm lazy or whatever. I don't want to fucking mix protein powder in the morning. Instead, I just grab the protein shake in the bottle, pre-made from my fridge first thing in the morning, and I actually drink it, and then that's good, and it's easy. And the same thing with the salads. I'm not making a salad at lunch, but if there's a salad in the fridge, pre-made, bosh, done. It's not, by any stretch, good for the planet, and that's the one thing that I do not like about it, because there's a lot of waste there. And so I'm trying to think of other ways of kind of mitigating that a little bit. Things like pre-making food a bit more, like at the weekend or whatever, which It's one of those classic tactics, isn't it? But again, for people with ADHD, I think sometimes you've got to weigh up all of the different things, and the reality is that yes, maybe you're using more plastic because you're buying more salads in boxes or whatever, but at the same time you're not throwing away food that maybe if you buy shitloads of bags of lettuce or whatever that you're just leaving in the fridge, you're throwing that away. Do you know what I mean? There's swings and roundabouts to everything, and you can't be like a perfectly ethical person all the time, which I know in this kind of modern world does sound like an alien concept, because obviously everything's black and white and we obviously need to be perfect or not, or you're an evil person. But the truth is that everyone is grey to some degree or more or less. So pay for shit that comes in a plastic pack that you definitely will consume because it's good and easy to eat. And also, the counterpoint to that is don't buy easy to eat shit. Don't buy easy to eat unhealthy shit. If there's crisps and chocolate and whatever else in the house, you're probably going to fucking eat it when you can. So just get rid of it. Worth getting snacks that are healthy. Your nuts, your raisins, your fruit, all of that kind of stuff as well, just to have knocking about, because you will want a snack at some point, and it's a good little dopamine burst. Number 4, the fourth, episode 4, A New Hope. Let's go with that. Protein. I mentioned protein before. The reason that I'm putting it as a principle, which in itself seems quite weird because it's actually a thing, but focusing on protein is a good principle to have when you have ADHD. It's a good principle to have, I think, when you don't have ADHD as well. But there's a few reasons why, right? And I'm going to flip between numbers and letters here, I know it. But anyway, protein is good for keeping you full. And that's very much proven scientifically, that the more protein you eat per meal, the longer you stay full for, which means that you reduce snacking, which means that you're not going to eat as much shit if it's knocking about. You stay full between meals, you're going to eat less overall, which is what you want broadly. The other good thing is it also seems to have an impact specifically for people with ADHD in terms of mitigating some of the most damaging symptoms of ADHD for whatever reason. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to bother going into the details of it because there will probably be videos on YouTube that you can watch that will tell you much more about that specific thing. But that, from what I've read and watched, it does seem that consuming a high protein diet can help somewhat with some of the symptoms of ADHD. How much? I don't fucking know. Probably not that much, but it's one of those things, isn't it? As with anything, if you have a high protein diet and you also exercise and you also meditate and you also do stuff that you like on a day-to-day basis and you also don't do shit that you don't like and you don't eat shit and you don't not exercise and you get good sleep and you do all those things, and together you might get a boost that's equivalent to, I don't know, whatever, half a pill of Ritalin. I'm not going to quantify it because I haven't got a fucking clue, but it does help. Clearly it helps to do that. The problem is that we obviously with ADHD, we don't necessarily, we know that it's doing it is the issue. It's not the knowing about that that's the problem, it's the doing it, which is why having medication usually is a good thing, because it means that you can get to the point of being able to do the things that do help. So, protein is good for you and it's good for ADHD probably. So have protein-based things. Number 5 is keep it novel. And I don't mean reading a novel while you're exercising. But you could do that, I suppose. Particularly these days with audiobooks. You could read a novel while you exercise. But I digress. What I mean by keeping it novel is do some random shit with your exercising and your fitness and your health and all of that all once in a while, because we like to mix the shit up. Keeps it interesting, keeps it novel, keeps it stimulating. I maybe sometimes try new things, sports or activities that I've not done before. So recently in the last few years got into skiing a bit more, which is quite fun. and incredibly middle class. Other things that I do, I get gadgets. Sometimes I've got like a new sort of Fitbit thing, not actually Fitbit, some cheap knockoff, but it's, does the job. Maybe I will get a new pair of like headphones that I can wear that are a bit more comfortable for when I'm running, or maybe a new pair of trainers, or maybe some new kit, or maybe I set myself like a challenge that I want to run like a 10k in a certain amount of time. Just fucking mix it the fuck up, and don't be boring with it, because that's the thing that will kill your fitness journey, is if you're like, I have to do this and I'm doing the same fucking thing every day, every other day, I'm just doing the same thing. You're not going to be interested in it after a while, because we get bored of shit very, very quickly. Do all of that and, you might look, if not like a Greek god, then a bloke from Brighton in England. Bye-bye.